Okay, looking forward to talking a little bit about perceptions that people outside the church have of Christians. I wouldn't say I necessarily love talking about this, but I mean, it's something that we need to know. And in class, what's going to be really good, we're going to watch a video of me interviewing the people from Westboro Baptist Church, which is always interesting. So look forward to that. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about what people outside the church see in Christians. And a lot of this comes from a book that's a great book from called Unchristian by Kinnaman and Lyons. And they did some research. They did a lot of research, and Dave Kinnaman is with the Barna Research Group now. And it's interesting to see some of the views that people outside of the church have of us. And I don't think any of these are going to surprise you. Number one is that they think that we are very hypocritical. Outsiders think that we are very hypocritical, saying one thing and then doing another. They're skeptical of some of the moral superiority that they think that we have, the attitudes that we have. They say that Christians pretend to be something unreal. They have this polished image that is not accurate. They say that Christians think that the church is only a place for the virtuous and morally pure people. So it's no wonder why they think that we're hypocritical. And of course, the word hypocrite is the Greek talks about wearing masks. And so we're not on the masks that we've had to wear during the pandemic, but I mean the type of mask where we're fake. And so I think there's a lot of truth to that, but it doesn't mean that we're all hypocrites, but that's the way a lot of people outside of the church view us. Another one of the perceptions they have, and this is kind of funny considering this is an evangelism class, but that we're too focused on getting converts. Now, I want to go back to something that I've said from Rick Warren. It was one of his quotes. He said it very carefully. He said, "We can't win our enemies to Christ, only our friends." So when you do that, you're not about out getting converts. You're just telling friends something that means a whole lot to you. But outsiders wonder if we are genuinely concerned about them. They feel like targets rather than people. Sometimes they feel like that we are just putting another notch on our belt or on our Bible or your purse, whatever it might be, instead of just caring about them as a person. They question our motives that when we're trying to get them saved, and I'm not going to deny that I want everyone to get saved, but I want them to get saved because I care about them, not because it's something that I'm getting some, crown or a jewel or whatever it might be, that from the Bible. I'm doing it because hell is real, and we need them to know about that so that they don't spend eternity there. And despite the fact that many people outside the church have already tried Jesus and they experience church, they just feel that that's all we want to do is get converts. And maybe it's because some churches, that's the way it is. But we just need to make sure that we don't come across that way. Again, I don't think any of these are going to be a surprise to you. In fact, the next one I know is not going to be. They think that many outside the church believe that we're anti-homosexual. Now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of preview for the video that I'm going to show in class. That is a picture of the people from Westboro Baptist Church that protest. Listen to this. They protest funerals of homosexuals in military. I'll talk about that more in class. But outsiders believe and say that Christians are bigoted. They say we show a disdain for gays and lesbians. They say that Christians are fixated on curing homosexuals and leveraging political solutions against them. Now, the Bible clearly says that homosexuality is a sin, but so is fornication, so is lying, so is stealing, so is coveting. I mean, they're all sins. And the problem is that some churches focus too much on one kind of sin that they turn people away because it seems like that's all they focus on. And so we need to make sure as followers of Jesus that we're not so focused on one sin that we are turning people away from the good news of Jesus Christ. But we'll talk more about that in class when we watch the Westboro Baptist Church video. And just know that, this is an interesting video. So if by chance you don't want to watch it, I will dismiss you and not make you sit in there. But this, I think it's pretty interesting, and it's usually one of the highlights of this semester. The next thing that people outside the church believe about those in the church is that Christians are sheltered. Again, I did this is kind of one of those awful t-shirts where, people try to knock off Starbucks, or they knock off, beer commercials or whatever it might be, just because we don't want to look like the world, but yet we are part of the world. Christians are thought of as old-fashioned. Sometimes they're thought of as boring and out of touch. We as Christians should be the most creative, the most innovative, the most everything, because we have the God of imagination who is the one who created us. He is the one that gave us all the creativity. We should not be boring. We should not be out of touch. We should be in the world, but not of the world. That's from Scripture. Outsiders say that we do not respond to reality in appropriate ways, preferring more simplistic solutions and answers. They say we're not willing to deal with the grit and grime of people's lives. So, again, some of us are sheltered, and we need to be unsheltered. I'm not saying go out being living some wild lifestyle, but you just need to you need to know what's going on in the world. It's important for us to do that. Again, none of these are going to be a surprise to you. So the next one, and over the last 8 years or so, I'd say has definitely been a problem, is that they say that Christians are too political. That we're too political. It's all about politics. A common perception of Christians is that we are overly motivated by a political agenda, that we promote and represent politically conservative interest in issues. They believe that conservative Christians are often thought of as right-wingers. The reality is that God is not a Republican or Democrat, a libertarian, an independent. God is God. And there are Christians in all political parties. Now, as someone who has some convictions, I don't always understand how someone could support certain political causes, but that's not for me to decide. That's between them and God. And so we don't need to tie ourselves to one political party. I have seen growing up where churches literally will print out who you need to vote for, and they pass it out to their congregation. But what if someone from another party is in that church and thinking, well, that's all that Christians are about? You're going to turn them away from the church, and that is horrible. We cannot do that. So this is something that I think that we need to really look at. And the last one that we're going to look at today is, again, I don't think it's going to be something you're going to think is not true, but it's that Christians are judgmental. Many outsiders think that Christians are quick to judge others. Well, many times we are. At least I am. I can't speak for everyone else. They say that we're not honest about our attitudes and perspectives about other people. And they doubt that we really love people as we say we do. We should be known as the most loving people around. I love what Mark Lowry, who is in the Gaither Vocal Band, is also a Christian comedian, says. He says, people always say that you should love the sinner, hate the sin. But he said, we should love the sinner and hate your own sin. I don't have enough time to worry about what you do or someone outside the church does. I need to worry about my own sin and clean up my own life so that I'm going to make my life attractive to people outside the church. So I hope this is helpful to you. Again, we're going to look at the Westboro Baptist Church video in class so that we can talk about it. And then if you have any questions about anything, please let me know. I will see you in class.